wonderful day it is. My name is Tuli Patel. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I welcome you all to Beacon. If you are watching online, hello to you all as well, and please won't you take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat box if you're online. This morning, our service is on the lands, the original and continued lands of the Lenni Lenape. We begin with a land acknowledgement so that we can understand our histories, so that we may be fully present to the current moment and shape our future. You're going to hear lots more about that from somebody special who I'm going to talk about in just a moment. 21 years ago, we gathered in a school gym, and 2 years ago, we couldn't gather because of the pandemic to commemorate 9/11. We are grateful this morning to be able to gather in person and through the miracle of technology online via live stream. Whatever you bring with you this morning, excitement over the first days of school, perhaps some anxiety. Anybody anxious? I've got anxiety. Sorry or elation, you are not alone. There is somebody here who's feeling the same thing that you are. Perhaps they're seated right next to you, or perhaps they're watching online. Joy and pain are woven, the warp and weft of this fabric of life. One way we deepen our engagement to the fabric of life is through our community groups. And the sign up for these small groups is September 15th. You can find out lots more on our website. Another way we deepen our engagement to the tapestry of life is by getting to know one another a little bit better. And social hour this afternoon after the second service will be downstairs. The stairs are out and to the left, to my left. And you're welcome to join us for a little bit of coffee and a few refreshments. We encourage you to keep your mask on if you're not actively eating or drinking, just like on the airplanes. We know how to do this, right? We know how to do this. And finally, it is my great honor, joy, and just pleasure to welcome Julica Hermann de la Fuente. Beacon leaders were engaged with Julica all day yesterday as she helps us live more deeply into the 8th principle, which is our commitment to anti-racism, anti-oppression, and multiculturalism. If you're interested in the work that we're doing, and I hope there's just no way you wouldn't be interested. You're going to be inspired. You want to sign up for the Widening the Circle team, and that is through Janet Roberts. Janet, would you like wave or cheer or twirl or something? Yeah, right. And if you don't know how to get a hold of Janet, just email me, tuli@summitbeacon.org, and I'll get you all connected. For now, I invite you to take a deep breath in, settle yourselves as we begin the sacred hour together, this hour devoted to our inner spiritual lives. A warm welcome to you all.
Good morning. I'm Nicole Jacobson, your ministerial intern. My pronouns are she, her. And our chalice lighting this morning comes from our own Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner. Flames rise up across the centuries and floorboards, the microscopic and the mountainous. Errors end, monarchs die, and even the great extractions and oppressions, the monarchy too can shake loose from the land. The world turns. Pandemics ripple their waves across the land, and we, like the birds at dawn's quake. Is she here again? Does the light return? Flames rise up. We cast shadows against the cave to understand, to laugh, to celebrate, to mourn. Flames rise up. Babies are cradled. We whispered promises into their ears. As sages watch the lick of flames, not all can be saved. Flames rise up, illuminating what can be. And we are called to this spark to magnify the light, the liberation, the love once more.
We are going to be singing hymn number 1017, Building a New Way. So I invite you to begin this hymn just by listening to the words, and then as we go, we'll feel like we can build our song together. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free of hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need, our every need. We can feed our every need, our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom, peace and freedom is our cry, is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry, is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Amen, people. Amen. Okay. So as we begin our story for all ages, can someone tell me what's a blessing? Love. A blessing is love. What else is a blessing? A wish. What else? A what? The sun. A blessing. The sun is a blessing. So is the rain, but yes, sun and rain. Other people blessing? A gift. Yes, excellent. Thank you. How does it feel when you receive or give a blessing? It feels good. Warm, yes. Special, excellent. Okay, so when we bless somebody, we are declaring their gifts, we're pledging our support, or we're making a promise, and it feels good, right? So where I come from, which is India, blessings will only ever flow from older people to younger people, never the reverse. Okay? Well, I should say there's one exception. Unless there's a young person who's devoted themselves to like monkhood and renounced all of life, then you would perhaps seek their blessing. But generally, not in the homes that we come from, always from older to younger. And the way you would seek somebody's blessing is not just by passing them on the way to the kitchen, but you would actively touch their feet on the way to the kitchen, perhaps, and then they would bless you. So it might look something like, oh, no, wait, I'm older than Robin. So it wouldn't work like that. So it would go like this. Now Robin is blessed. Thank you, Robin. Very good. But as Unitarian Universalists, we don't necessarily think that blessings only flow from older to younger. We actually think they flow across and up and down and diagonally and tangentially in all kinds of interesting ways, right? In fact, I know that many of us who are parents and guardians in the room feel very blessed by the young people we are shepherding. Yes? Amen? Yes, excellent. So it might look like this. I am older than Robin, just for the record, but I could seek her blessing like this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Excellent. All right. Okay. Good.
Second time around. I wonder if we're going to do that again. So I'm going to show up in another time for all ages. Beloved, today is an exciting day because something very special in the life of our congregation that happens every year is happening today. Our children and our youth are beginning their small groups. Can you feel the excitement? I feel it. I'm excited. Yeah, that's right. Can we get a little rumble for? Thank you. Now, guiding our children and our youth are some very special adults, young adults, and other youth. We call them our guides. So if you are a child who is joining in our programming today, we're going to invite you forward. And before you come forward, I want to say something. Sometimes we say, come on forward, and we make it sound like that's the brave thing to do. And that could be a brave thing that you want to do this morning. But children, I also want you to know that it's very brave and right to listen to your bodies and your feelings. And if you don't feel like coming forward, that's okay too. Okay? So I think John is going to play some exciting music for those of you in the balcony to come on down up front. Those children who want to come up front and share in this blessing. And anyone here on the main sanctuary floor, come on up where Lucy and Jermaine are. And if you want to come with your adults, with parents or grandparents, your people, come on up with your people. Excellent. And I'm going to ask our congregation to share in this blessing of our children. It's okay if we want to go back and come back and go back. That's okay. Now, why have I called you forward? Is it so everyone can ooh and ah at you? No. No. You are wonderful beings, but we're not tokenizing you this morning. The reason we've called you forward is often you're looking at the back of everyone's heads, right? And I want you to take a moment to look at this community who loves you. You can take a moment. Some people are waving. They're smiling under those masks, I promise. Look at the eyebrows. Trust the eyebrows. There we go. All right, congregation, are you ready to share in this blessing with me? All right, so this is a call and response. I'll share the blessing and you'll echo it back, okay? And if you want to extend a hand to participate in this blessing, or lean forward if you're able, or raise those eyebrows so we know you're smiling, we welcome that too. To our children, we bless you. May you be resilient.
May you be resilient.
May you be confident.
May you be confident.
May you be compassionate.
May you be compassionate.
So we are blessed.
So we are blessed.
All right, children, are you ready to help me bless your adult guides? Okay, I'm going to ask all of our adult guides and youth to come up front, and I want you in a center circle, if you will. And children, can you make a big circle around them? So Jermaine will be the center of the circle with Lucy in the middle.
Suzanne?
There we go. Adult guides, come on up front. Okay, for all of our children gathered, you're going to share this blessing with me. So you're going to say the words after I say them. Okay, we've got a few more folks coming. And adults too, being brave can be staying where you are or coming up front. That doesn't change with age. Many ways to be brave. All right, so children, are you ready? Are you listening to me? Okay, excellent. So repeat these words after me. May you be, open-hearted, patient, grounded, in spirit. May we magnify the light together. Amen. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to invite all of our children to go back with your adults or follow Jermaine, and we're going to invite you to share in our candle lighting before heading to your small groups.
How do we follow that? Good morning, everybody. My name is Dennis Mannion. I'm a member of our Beacon chaplain team. Our role as chaplains is to extend the care of this community, the spiritual care of our community. One ritual of spiritual care is our weekly candle lighting. Together, we light candles of joy, gratitude, and sorrow. Today, we light a candle on this September 11th for the people we lost, for their families, communities whose lives were altered forever by the insanity unleashed on that tragic day. A candle of sorrow for all those who are grieving loss of loved ones or dealing with health challenges, acts of social injustice, or climate catastrophe. We also lit a candle this morning of gratitude and celebration for the ordination yesterday of our very own Mary Early Zald. Congratulations to Mary. Reverend Mary. For this and for so much more, we invite you now to come forward if you're here in the sanctuary and light a candle or at home on your altar.
This song is called Love Only Love. It's by Neil Comas-Daniels and Diane Rose, and it is an English interpretation of a prayer from the Bible called the Ve'ahavta, which is, you shall love the eternal God with all your heart. Love only love with all your heart. Love only love with all your soul. Listen to the wisdom inside and around you. You will remember as you're walking through the day. Make this world a better place. Children will learn in your home and on your way. Make your life a voice of God. Be a sculptor for the holy. Be a doorway for love. Love, only love with all your heart. Love, only love with all your soul.
Beloved, would you breathe with me? If breath is a place of ease and centering, perhaps for the first time this day, would you breathe with me? If breath is not the place where you discover that rhythm gifted to you at birth, find a place within, an image in your mind's eye, the chalice here, and just begin to focus in this time of listening. Within and among us, there is an aching in so many of our beings. For some, the memories of 21 years ago, of terror and mourning here at a train station just blocks away. For those who never returned, or who were forever changed. In our sorrow still present, in struggle, in shock, and injustice, the ripples far beyond these walls. We call forth from the ache and the pain now a love that does not let go. A love that does not let go of one another, of this world, of the endurance of daylight at dawn, even as rains nourish this land. A love that does not let go as kindness embodied, a kindness we can inhabit and receive in a glance, in a word, in abiding with one another. We acknowledge that day that was beautiful, that our sorrow and joy can be woven fine. May ours be the task to hold the beauty in the midst of the brutal, to say yes to love right now with one more breath. Yes to a love that lives in us, that widens the circle and knows it can never be diminished in our sharing, only magnified. A love that in our mistakes unveils the miraculous of being human together. In our journey unfolds the wholeness and healing. In our yearning makes an echo of blessing. From bumbling badger to brook and warren to mountains and to you, beloved, to ordinary acquaintances and even strangers. Let these words stir in your being. Whisper them out as a blessing. I love you. We love you. I love you. we love you. Amen.
Would you join in singing the meditation on breathing? It's 1009 in your hymnal. And we'll do it a few times so that we can breathe in and breathe out together. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Good morning, Beacon. My name is Hannah Hergenhan, and I've been a member of Beacon since 2014. Some of you may not recognize me as I've been a bit absent over the pandemic between having a toddler and a baby very shortly on the way. My husband and I don't get out too much. I was asked today to speak on the theme of belonging, and immediately a topic came to mind. In the spring of this year, we were given the opportunity to host a Ukrainian family within our home. Though their entire lives were being uprooted, they were very fortunate in unfortunate circumstances. They avoided the active conflict by fleeing to Cyprus in February, and the husband worked for a company based in the United States, transferring his employment from virtual to in-person, and they were relatively easily able to obtain visas for the whole family. Even with all of their resources, as I waited at the airport for them, I was thinking how frightened they must have been to be immigrating to a country where they'd never visited before and staying in a house of people they'd never met. What I couldn't have anticipated is how incredibly seamlessly they would blend into life here and how much they made themselves belong, not only within our family, but within a completely new country. Within less than a week of being here, they went into New York City, saw the ocean, navigated shopping, the DMV, and the Social Security office, which are no small feats for any of us. I was struck with the resilience that each of them had, given the circumstances that they were in. They jumped right in and did whatever they could to build a life here, eventually getting an apartment of their own in mid-July. The older boys are enrolled in school and thriving. They have absolutely become family to us, and they so wanted stability and to belong here after being in transition for so long with all the uncertainty that their country now faces. This experience has reinforced that you can belong anywhere, as long as you keep an open mind and heart and have a community that does the same. That's why I treasure Beacon. From the aid which many of you showed this family, for which they are incredibly grateful, to the inclusive message of our congregation and our generosity locally and around the world. I'm incredibly proud to belong to a community and to share in its story. Our stories matter, yours and mine. They help us make meaning of our lives and of the world around us. That's what a religious community does. Grounds us in our values and reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Our mission comes alive with our stories. Now we move into a time where we give generously to magnify Beacon's light in our lives and in the world. In a minute, you'll see the ways in which you can contribute to Beacon. We invite you to lean into the practice of generosity. I know firsthand it makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Our morning offering will now be most gratefully received.
And if you would like to turn your hymnal pages to 1010, We Give Thanks, we can get ready to sing that in just a minute. surrounded by midnight. I've been surrounded by midnight. I've been surrounded by midnight, but the sun's gonna warm my face. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and thus far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for a gathered here and this far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. And I just want to say thank you very much to John O'Neill, our pianist. It's always such a joy.
Our reading this morning comes from the poet, activist, Aurora Levin Morales, entitled Vahafta. Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorposts, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders. Teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep. Here in the cruel shadow of empire, another world is possible. Thus spoke the prophet Roque Dalton. All together they have more death than we, but all together we have more life than they. There is more bloody death in their hands than we could ever wield, unless we lie down our souls to become them, and then we lose everything. So instead, imagine winning. This is your sacred task. This is your power. Imagine every detail of winning, the exact smell of the summer streets in which no one has been shot, the muscles you have never unclenched from worry, gone soft as newborn skin, the sparkling taste of food when we know that no one on earth is hungry, that the beggars are fed, that the old man under the bridge and the woman wrapping herself in thin sheets in the backseat of a car, and the children who suck on stones, nest under a flock of roofs that keep multiplying their shelter. Lean with all your being towards that day when the poor of the world shake down a rain of good fortune out of heavy clouds, and justice rolls down like waters. Defend the world in which we win as if it were your child. It is your child. Defend it as if it were your lover. It is your lover. When you inhale and when you exhale, breathe the possibility of another world into the 37.2 trillion cells of your body until it shines with hope. Then imagine more. Imagine rape is unimaginable. Imagine war is a scarcely credible rumor. that the crimes of our age, the grotesque inhumanities of greed, the sheer and astounding shamelessness of it, the vast fortunes made by stealing lives, the horrible normalcy it came to have, is unimaginable here. The generation, unimaginable to our heirs, the generations of the free. Don't waver, don't let despair sink in its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sang. Escalate your dreams, make them burn so fiercely that you can only follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way. Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion, and keep walking. Hold hands, share water, keep imagining, so that we and the children of our children's children may live.
Thank you, Nicole. So that we and the children of our children's children may live. Yes. To begin my message today, I am going to invite you to play a game with me. It is called And Another Thing. And it's basically a verbal pylon of all the things that are ridiculous and hard and scary and infuriating in our lives. I'm not the only one that has ridiculous things going on right now. Okay, all right. So we could call this game I Just Can't Even, but the reason we call it And Another Thing is because we say and another thing before we're gonna say one more thing to add on to the pile, you get me? So some of you might want to lean over to the person next to you or turn around and talk to the person behind you and share and another thing more quietly. I'm hoping that some of you will want to engage with me and say it loud for others to hear. This game works best when we all really let it rip. The idea is that it's cacophonous. We are interrupting each other. We are talking more than one person at a time. It's a cathartic exercise. Yeah? All right, so take a moment to think about some of the things that you want to name and release. Because when you say it out loud, it's a little less heavy. I'll get us started. Okay. And another thing, the pandemic totally broke my executive function. I used to be able to pretend like I had it together, but not anymore. It's just gone. And another thing, is the pandemic really over? I mean, can I travel safely? What does safety even mean anymore? And another thing, my dear friend who recently lost her dad is now supporting her mom who is really ill. And another thing, too many emails. I just can't with it. Just too many emails. And another thing, perimenopause. Like, what? Like, no, thank you. Okay, now you. And another thing. Corporation tax. 6 a.m. What? You can't plan.
And another thing, we're forcing people to give birth and not have abortion.
What? And another thing. And another thing. Bring it.
These flight prices.
What? How are we supposed to be able to see our people? And another thing.
Impossible deadlines. Why are we in such a hurry?
Why are we in such a hurry? Impossible deadlines. Yeah. Whew. That feel good? Shake it out. Shake it out.
I hope you had a moment of feeling, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one grieving. I'm not the only one struggling to help my neurodiverse child navigate an educational system that is not set up for their success. I am not the only one overwhelmed by the vast inequity, the sheer and astounding shamelessness of greed, the horrible normalcy of police brutality, of children in cages. Let's breathe in together and let us sigh out loud together. Again. Thank you. Thank you. That's why we come to church. Right, Hannah? Because we remind ourselves that we're not struggling alone. To have a community of fellow travelers, to harness the energy of the larger body, to feel connected, to have a place to belong. Belonging is at the center of what we do here at church. Our UU congregations are an antidote to and another thing. At its best, they are the place where we come to charge up and make deeper meaning and find the next right action to get into good trouble and stay in good trouble. I think that the reason that there is comfort in doing and another thing together is that somewhere along the line, we were trained to believe that if we don't have it all figured out, if it doesn't look like Architectural Digest, Martha Stewart, Oprah Magazine, something, we're doing it wrong. I am here to proclaim that that is not true. Thank you. And another thing helps us see all the ways that life is too much, and it also allows us to break the facade. We have been holding ourselves to unreasonably high standards. We have trained ourselves to believe that we are only as good as what we can produce and what we can accomplish. And I want to explore that a little bit more with all of you. Why? Why do we create and try to live up to these unreasonable standards that have us living stressed and feeling insufficient, that separate us from other people, that create this experience of frustration and isolation? And how do we strengthen our imagination muscles? How do we get better at the task of imagining winning? How and why did it get so hard to challenge the status quo? Well, of course, it's always been hard because the status quo is set up to be that, the status quo, the way things are, the existing state of affairs. One of the ways that the status quo maintains itself, one of the tricks that it uses to stay in place, is to give shape and limits to the stories that we tell and are able to imagine. It is hard to imagine winning when you've never visited Wakanda. But once Wakanda becomes a possibility in your imagination, other things become possible too. Now, for those of you who are not Marvel fans, I love you, we're still good. Wakanda is the land of the Black Panther, a place in Africa that was never enslaved or colonized. My heart grew a little bit bigger, and my imagination got more fierce after I watched that movie and after I got to know Wakanda. I recommend it to you if you can tolerate violent action movies. Because it is violent, it's an action movie, no doubt about it. But Wakanda, oh. Another way the status quo maintains its hold on us is by defining the parameters of what is good and moral in a way that keeps you focused on impossible individual achievements. Let me say a little bit more about this. I was very lucky to study with the ethicist, Dr. Sharon Welch, at Meadville Lombard Theological School. Dr. Welch wrote a book called The Feminist Ethic of Risk. And in this book, she analyzes and compares the definitions of goodness across different social groups, particularly the way that white people define goodness and morality, and how this compares to the way African American womanist theologians and writers make sense of what is good and right and valuable. Dr. Welch looks at the way that African American women survive and thrive in the face of the intersection of racism and sexism. And what Dr. Welch found is that white folks have created what she calls an ethic of control. For white folks who were historically grounded in the white Protestant ethic of work, goodness is defined as the ability to control the outcome of their actions. The ethic of control says, in order to be a good person, I need to do good deeds and demonstrate my goodness through my actions. And it's not just my actions, it's the outcome of my actions. Consider the mythology of this country. The stories that we lift up to tell us what is good. Look at all the heroes. Heroes that singularly change everything. Some of you are old enough to remember how Superman flies around the earth in the opposite direction of its rotation to turn back time to save Lois Lane from the earthquake. Yeah, I see some nods. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad some of you remember. Yeah? I mean, like that is power right there. But it's also Luke Skywalker. It's Harry Potter. It's Frodo. And yeah, some of them have a team supporting them, but the final moment is all about them and their strength, their capacity to use the Force to blow up the Death Star or to toss the ring back into the volcano or whatever, all the things that they need to do, right? All of these stories are teaching us that if we want to be good, we have to be heroic. We have to overcome overwhelming odds. And of course, when we compare our lives against these heroic stories, we always fall short. And let me add that the ethic of control is a way of being that many of us in the global majority have also bought into. As we have assimilated into white institutions in order to survive, we have also had a glass or two of that Kool-Aid. And we are also holding ourselves to really unreasonable heroic standards, maybe even higher standards, because our parents and our grandparents taught us to work our tushies off and never give them a reason. The antidote to the ethic of control is what Sharon Welch calls the ethic of risk. The ethic of risk is what African American womanist theologians and writers identify as the way to successfully navigate the challenges of racism and sexism, like I said before. The ethic of risk defines goodness as the capacity to take strategic risks in community. When we operate with an ethic of risk, we define what is moral and good as the ability to strategically choose the risks that we take together to move the needle and change and challenge the status quo. Many of you will recognize the Serenity Prayer by Reinhold Niebuhr that says, God grant me the courage to change what I can, the serenity to accept what I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? Well, Sharon Welch says that the ethic of risk takes us far from this prayer and this orientation. She writes, "The drive of moral life is that we can never know the difference between that which we can change and that which we cannot. Our challenge is to move creatively in a very different sort of adventure, one whose prayer is more like this: what improbable task with which unpredictable results shall we undertake today?" Let me read that again. What improbable task with which unpredictable results shall we undertake today? She writes, "In trading an ethic of control for an ethic of risk, and in living out this ethos, we can neither undo the past nor control the future, but we can learn from the past, and we can live creatively, responsibly, and compassionately in the present." Now, I personally learned a Mexican version of this ethic of risk. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I've come to realize how central it is to my theology, to the way that I make meaning and the way that I move in the world, and especially to my commitment to liberation and transformation. So I want to tell you where I found this lesson. I want to tell you the story of how I learned it. When I was a teenager, my mother used to take me to this dinner theater place, tiny little place called El Unicornio, the unicorn. On the walls, there was art, all unicorn art. There was an apple with a unicorn horn, and there was all of these different, I remember the apple especially. There was all of these different representations of unicorns. And it was like a narrow little room. It was probably like a third of this room. And at the end, there was the stage, and there were 3 big, long tables. And we would eat communally, so sideways, and then we would turn our chairs to look at the stage. But this dinner theater wasn't like the musical theater type dinner theater. This dinner theater was poetry and guitar music. Oh, it was so good. And my favorite of all of the different shows that they had was called Borges con Música. It was the poetry of Jorge Luis Borges, the Argentinian poet, and guitar music, just to like let it all sink in, and these songs that would just reaffirm the poetry. If you have not yet met Jorge Luis Borges, may I introduce you? I mean, and it was just delicious. And these poems are not easy. It's like all of life in that room, with the music and the food and the heart and the happy and all of it together. It was wonderful. And there was this point in the show where Germán de Esa, who was the main dude, who was a beloved, beloved person in my life, he has since passed away, but a very important public figure in Mexican politics and culture. He ran this and had this wonderful team of people. And there's a part in the show where he tells this allegory. And he says, Borges the student went to talk to Borges the teacher. And Borges the student said, "Teacher, what are the responsibilities of people, of humankind?" And Borges the teacher said, "Two are the responsibilities of humankind: to be joyful and to be just. And we cannot sacrifice joy for justice, and neither can we sacrifice justice for joy. It is at the intersection of the two that we fulfill our highest calling as humans." That really stuck. The intersection of joy and justice has become the center of my anti-racism work. On the one hand, we cannot continue to do anti-racism work in ways that make us feel guilty or bad about the ways that we have not been able to control the outcome of our actions. And I personally cannot and will not do anti-racism work from a place of anger and frustration, because that will make me sick and it will kill me. I need to feel hopeful and joyful in order to imagine winning. I will not sacrifice joy for the sake of justice. And on the other hand, we can't sacrifice justice for the sake of joy. We can't just binge on the next Netflix series. I hear the Great British Baking Show is starting this Friday. And eat more popcorn. I'm ready for it, but that's part of a, like if I just do that, I end up with a hangover because all of the other things are still waiting for me, and I'm using things that give me joy in a numbing way. I'm not really joyful, I'm just avoiding. And that won't do. That's not what we need. The place of real satisfaction for me is this: to belong to a community that is making a difference, and to do my part by following what feels good and right in my body. I am taking good care of myself and pursuing the things that give me joy, because when I am joyful, I can do the work better. As my colleague Carol Sissel says, I serve from the saucer because my cup runneth over. I serve from the saucer because my cup runneth over. When I am joyful, my imagination is bigger. When I am joyful, I am more curious, more playful, more flexible. When I am joyful, I am already winning. I invite you to join me in this place of hope and possibility. I invite you to investigate your own personal intersection of joy and justice. The thing that you care deeply about, and the thing that you would do well naturally, that makes you feel good. I will meet you at the intersection of those things, and we will keep taking risks together. Amen? Amen. Amen. Vamos. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please rise, embody your spirit to sing when the Spirit says do, 1024 in our teal hymnal.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. Sing, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing. Oh Lord, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. How about laugh? You got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you got to laugh. Oh Lord, you got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. We're gonna dance now. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. We got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance. Oh Lord, you got to dance when the Spirit says dance.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes. These words from the Right Reverend Marta Valentin. In the intersection of joy and justice, down in the center, between its twin leaves, where the moist murkiness is rife with possibilities, where the joy is shaking roots and vibrating bodies as it grows towards the luminosity that is liberation. Joy is pushing justice up through the tiniest aperture, pushing towards its blooming inevitability, pushing in such a tender yet fierce way that justice has no choice but to erupt and burst into 1,000 seeds that send their joy to scout more joy, and together create a dark yet fulgent promise to honor both joy and justice, or none at all. Blessings. Have a good week. Amen.
May the work I've done speak for me. May the work I've done speak for me. When I come to the end of this road and I lay down this heavy load, may the work I've done speak for me. Let the life I've lived speak for me. Let the life I've lived speak for me. When I come to the end of this road and I lay down this heavy load, let the life I've lived speak for me. Let the friends I've made speak for me. Let the friends I've made speak for me. When I come to the end of this road and I lay down this heavy load, let the friends I made speak for me. Let the love I've shared speak for me. Let the love I've shared speak for me. When I come to the end of this road and I lay down this heavy load, let the life I've lived speak for me. Let the friends I've made speak for me. Let the love I've shared speak for